A very good morning to you, Africa. This is Wake Up Africa, and this is the 24th of May, 2025. We are very much delighted and honored to have with us this morning my brother, very own brother Emmanuel Kiaule, joining us all the way from the world, and my dear sister Rhoda Mwita, joining us yet again all the way from the world. This two wonderful people come in. They move around by the nature of the work they do, and I truly appreciate that they could make time and be with Africa this morning as we're pondering youth in agriculture. Youth in agriculture. But on the onset, before we start the program, I would like to start at this juncture to thank everyone who's made Wake Up Africa up to this point a great success. I would like to really thank Essa and Noreen. These are the two people that, from the day go, they said, Austin, Wake Up Africa is going to go live. We're going to connect. We're going to bring Africa together and speak African language and speak African content as we change the narratives of Africa. People still perceive Africa as, again, the war-torn or backward continent, but Africa is such a beautiful continent. And of recent, I've, been propagating peace. Emmanuel and Rhoda, people in Africa do not know. This is the only place where we can call home. This is the only place where we can proudly say, my homeland, and we really need to protect Africa, the land, our peace and security by all means, so that, because anywhere else, where can you run and say you're at home? But this is not the topic for today. The topic for today is youth in agriculture. But again, I would like to thank all the people that have been contributing to Wake Up Africa. These are none other but Aminata Traore, who always joins us from Arusha, Tanzania. But we have Alan Subi joining us from Kampala, Uganda. Patricia Ndede joining us from Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya. But we have Elliot joining us from Burundi. We have Remy joining us from Rwanda. We have Mr. Tots joining us from Zimbabwe. Anna Maneno joining us from South Sudan. Collins all the way from South Africa, all bringing different perspectives of Wake Up Africa into being. So delighted, my dear viewers of Wake Up Africa, and again, very honored to have full-time, all-time, constantly passionate followers. These are none other but my very own mother, Mrs. Beatrice Makani. Thank you always for watching Wake Up Africa. My family, my dear friend Jolene, you are fantastic. And Emmanuel, these wonderful followers of Wake Up Africa do not just watch Wake Up Africa, but they watch and give us the feedback, this and that. And through feedback, we're able to improve. Before I invite my special guest this morning to take the floor, I would like to say a few things. That youth in agriculture, looking on to Africa, we do not see the opportunities. Rather than we consider the urban life because of, when we look onto agriculture, and this is what my dear guests this morning are going to ponder on. Agriculture is not perceived as in Africa is not perceived as something of prestige. Agriculture being prestigious. We're looking onto agriculture as heavy work. We're looking onto agriculture. In the past, some of the schools we went to, when you're punished, you're told to go to the farm or go to the gardens and do some manual work there, and agriculture is not considered or perceived as something that would bring comfortability in life, you know. Then the issues around technology, there are issues around land, training, market opportunities, which are not per se geared in the urban settings, but in the rural settings, because I think my dear friends will contribute to that. I think the rural settings in Africa contribute over 70% or 80% of the food that we eat in the urban setting. So people say like, oh, so if I am to do agriculture, I have to leave the urban settings, I have to leave the urban comfort and go to the rural, and I am not keen to that. So looking onto lack of prestige, agriculture is often seen as the hard job, not very prestigious, and young people do not see agriculture as cool or as a modern profession. This is what we're going to look onto. Now, the desire that young people have and for the comfort of urban life, access to modern amenities, entertainment, which do not so much um, are not so much found in the rural setting. But again, looking onto the structural and economic challenges, limited access to land. We do not have land in the urban settings. We have land in the urban and rural settings. Now, why do I need to go to the rural setting to access land if, then people think like rural, then technology and training, poor infrastructure, not to mention issues of limited financial resources. Youth often lack financial resources to invest in their own farming activities, whether it's to purchase land, seed, or equipment. But again, urban migration. So people have been moving so much into the town setting, thinking that there is where life is living. The agriculture, which Emmanuel and Rhoda will now be contributing to saying life is not in the urban setting. Life, even, I don't know what they have to say, but again, looking forward to their contribution. But non agricultural sectors, the rise of non farming opportunities in rural areas such as trade, construction, and services can now bring the youth back into the rural setting and have them engage into agriculture. But again, looking onto the opportunities, education opportunities, but schools and universities have also been constructed in rural areas, in remote areas. So that should also attract youth back into the villages and engage them into different activities. But again, some of other factors that came across as I was looking and researching on this topic were the lack of knowledge and awareness, which my dear guest this morning will unleash. Youth may not have the adequate knowledge about the potential and the opportunities within the agricultural sector. And when I was talking to my brother Emmanuel soon to share his take, spoke about, when you speak about agriculture, you speak about agricultural value chain, not just the tilting of land. But again, I will not put words in his mouth. I would really like to hear what he has to say. There are issues around um, cultural norms and perceptions that parental advice and societal expectations can influence youth career choices, sometimes discouraging them from pursuing agriculture. So your daddy was a lawyer, probably your mom something, and then they would probably not tell you to go into agriculture. They'll probably sway you to becoming a lawyer or a doctor or a pilot, etc. And then if you look onto these fields, they're already scrambled, you know? But again, what should governments do? We should be looking onto the issues of improving land access, education and training, promotion, innovation, and technology in agriculture, infrastructure, creating more positive image in agriculture or positive image in agriculture. And I'm delighted that with me as well this morning is Rhoda, the co-founder of Kilimo Roundtable, who will then bring that perspective of how do we bring positive image of agriculture and put it in the mindsets of the young people so that they're able to see agriculture as their thing. Good morning, Emmanuel. Good morning, Rhoda.
A very
Good
good morning
morning,
to you, Austin, and the rest of the listeners.
So
Austin.
this is Wake Up Africa, and Wake Up Africa speaks to the entire African continent. We discuss different issues, but the objective of Wake Up Africa is really to tell the world out there that there are things that are happening in Africa. We are not a war torn. We're not the perception. Like I don't even think they imagine there are cars in Africa. Some of the people I met a couple of months ago abroad were like, "So where's Tanzania?" I was like, do you guys know which is the highest mountain, standalone mountain in the world? They're like, no, tell us. It's like Kilimanjaro. And that's where I come from, in East Africa, Tanzania. Oh, so they bring issues like, of course, we cannot deny Emmanuel, my fellow marketing guru. We cannot deny the fact that Kenya has promoted their country more than we have in terms of tourism. So, is this close to Kenya? Is this in Kenya? Is this they kind of think some village setting, but again, that's a topic for another day. For today, let us focus on youth in agriculture. Emmanuel, to begin with you, First, tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about yourself as we deep dive onto then why are youth not attracted to doing agriculture?
Hi, Austin, and friends who have joined the discussion this morning. Thank you so much. I'm so much honored to participate in this discussion. Anyways, for me, I've so many professional backgrounds
Emmanuel?
and so forth. Yeah. So I will wish to just stick to that. And I've worked in several African countries. I would say the ones that I worked for a long time are four, which means Tanzania, engaging into agriculture, because I was also working for a UN agency that is specifically dealing with agriculture, food and agriculture. So I would also share some insights from my interactions with these young people across the continent. As to why am I interested into agriculture? One, I would say I like food. And I always ensure that whatever that I'm taking together with my family is safe and good in terms of quality, in terms of safety and so forth. We also envisage the issues around food safety and also the quality, which is so important. And as you might be aware, we have an issue with the application of chemicals and some harmful contaminants into the food system. So one of the reasons I say that I get into agriculture, I want to produce some quality food, but also safe for human health. That I can also take it myself with my family. So the first consumers of my products are is my own family, and then people around me. So this is the reason why I said I should get into agriculture. But again, my plan is also to grow into a big farmer who will now be able to swing into a full commercial scale. At the moment, I'm doing it, but I wouldn't say I've reached where I want to be. But so far, I would say all is doing well. And specifically, I have concentrated into two major value chains, let's say three. Number one is poultry. I do the local chicken farming, but also dairy farming. And as part of that, I do some small scale horticulture. That's what I'm also doing because I have some byproducts from the two value chains that I'm also using. So I would say this is the reason why I really wish to, concentrate into agriculture. One is to ensure myself of quality and safe food for the family, but I also wish that I expand into a full commercial scale where I'm able to, yes, I've started, but I've not reached the scale that I want. Maybe I think it's enough for now. Back to you, Austin.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Let me pick that up again. You said you're into poultry, dairy, and small scale. I missed the third one.
Horticulture.
Horticulture. Very good.
Yes.
Horticulture.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So let's go to Rhoda, and Rhoda will also give us an introduction to herself and what she does, and then we'll pick onto the topic for the day. Rhoda, over to you.
Thank you, my brother Austin and my fellow colleague. I'd like to thank you for bringing up this topic. As Austin said, we have the agriculture platform, which is bringing all agriculture stakeholders together for discussion on potentiality available in the agriculture sector. I would like to thank you for this topic because currently we have been conducted the research regarding agriculture with youth. So the answer, why does the agriculture attract the youth? And is it speaking their language? The answer can be yes, at the same time can be no. depending on where and at what lens are you looking agriculture with. What I can say is studies has been showing that it can be true that youth are attracted on some area, such as horticulture, as my fellow said. And this research shows that this is because many of horticulture, it pays, and second, it matures fast, and you can do more than twice a year, or third. And big no, because and no, because land is required. So we can see, is there any prioritizing on land for youth? And second, youth are also attracted in some noodles of value chain, such as input markets, fertilizer, seed, and aggregation processing, and the market path. And if we are looking at agriculture in terms of actual farming, using traditional method as hand, hoe, and all that can be no to youth, because those methods are not attracted them. So as we modernize the agriculture using mechanization, make a land available to youth, increase the access finance, more youth can jump into it. As my brother said, livestock and poultry, but also fisheries, milk processing, and all that. Aqua agriculture are avenue where youth are moving forward to, because youth, they don't want that our parent method. So for me, I see no option than to make agriculture attractive to youth. And if we can become food secure and conquer the markets around the world, so it means technology are the main driving force for them to engage in agriculture. So all the environment should be conducive for youth to engage in agriculture. So we speak on technology, we speak on aggregation schemes, we speak on all the value chain of agriculture. As we said, agriculture value chain are big. So if we can look into it, many youth are more attractive on those value chain more than going directly to farming. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you very much, Rhoda, for your contribution. You spoke about, maybe I should start with you. You spoke about environment needs to be conducive. Environment needs to be conducive, and I would like to start from that end. When you say environment needs to be conducive, who is? Question is, who is to make the environment conducive? Whose role, whose task is it to ensure that environment is conducive?
For me, first is government focus. The second is the private sector contribution. As we know, government cannot do everything, but we as a private stakeholder, we should mitigate and doing some engagement with other development country who are ahead of us in agriculture part. So we can engage them, going see what the technology have been used and implement in our country as well. The study shows not the study, I know, in Egypt, every farmer has the blending machine in their field. And some have the processing machine in their field that I speak about in a single individual. So I think everyone has the contribution in this. Even you, Austin, what we are doing here, I think you should create some small report to show the result, how to engage youth in agriculture path and what attract them, what should be done. I think everyone has the contribution this part.
Thank you so much, Rhoda. Over to you, Emmanuel. Akinwumi Adesina, the president of the African Development Bank, speaks about next millionaires coming from Africa, but it specifically says those who are engaged in agriculture. But the youth do not see that. The youth do not have a vision as onto how agriculture can make them millionaires. Emmanuel, what is your take on that? How can I wake up a millionaire from either poultry or dairy or horticulture?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. One, I would like to touch on the point that Rhoda raised as to who is to make the environment convenient. Issues like basic infrastructure, the roads, the aggregation centers. Now we are talking about the warehouse receipt system where farmers can store their produce until when the prices stabilize in the market, or processing and so forth. So some of these are projects that will be run by the government, or maybe a partnership between the government and the private sector. Then issues around policy. We have talked about land ownership. Again, it also goes up to the government machinery. How do we make the land policy, the land laws more friendly to young people so that they are able to, most of the young people depend on the land that they get from their parents. And it is the parents who dictate terms, how to use it and so forth. So how do we play around the policies and the laws to enable these young people to access the land? So there's a number of issues that need to be addressed. The private sector, again, whenever there is an opportunity, the private sector will chip in. So the moment you find them hesitating to get into private and into agriculture, like the banks giving loans to farmers, because if it was a sure deal, I'm sure they would be fighting for the opportunity. But the moment you see them hesitantly, prioritizing agriculture, that tells you something, that there are some things that need to be addressed for the private sector to come in. So there are a number of factors which contribute to the environment. Now, coming back to your question, the future billionaires, not even millionaires. To tell you the truth, there are some exceptional cases in the continent, even at the moment, of young people who are making millions and millions of money out of agriculture. But these are very exceptional. These are young people, either they had some very good support from their parents, or they had access to loans, big loans in banks. I know one who accessed like 500 million Tanzanian shillings from a local bank here, and is doing poultry somewhere in Morogoro. So these are very exceptional cases who have made it through, but it's not that easy for the rest of young people to be able to do it. So now, why, how do I tell the young people that there is so much money into agriculture? And, how do we convince them that the future millionaires are coming, like Adesemi said? Yeah, for sure, let me tell you, provided there are people on earth, that means we need food. And that means every day when you talk about the increased population, that means you have more mouths to feed. So I always tell people why I like agriculture is that up to the last person on the surface, the earth's surface, let's say there is only one person remaining before disappearing, the humankind disappears. That person will need food. So the potential in agriculture, the market is there. People are there to eat all through. And so far, we have not been able to even get close to the needs. Like for instance, in Africa, still we import a lot. It was a very big shame when one small country in Europe, in Eastern Europe, got into a war. Then the whole continent was in its knees in terms of wheat supplies, in terms of cooking oil. You see, we still import sugar from abroad. Yeah, we still import some basic things from abroad. I was in one of the African countries I will not want to mention, but the fish eaten in that country comes all the way from far Asia, East Asia, You would even wonder how transporting that fish all the way to that country in Africa, and it attracts a lower price than the fish that was just obtained from a nearby water body. These are the questions. So I don't want to get into that, but simply to say there's so much potential. We have not yet met the needs that are there. So now, why do I want to convince the young people? Because one, there is a ready-made market out there. The demand is high, and there's a lot of improvements in terms of technologies. And also, I've seen some insurance companies coming up with some packages to cover agriculture. I've seen banks also slowly getting into agriculture. So it is no longer the way it was before, many years ago. Slowly we see the improvements. The technologies have lessened the labor work. It's no longer tilling the land using a hand hoe. Nowadays, you have some very simplified technologies. We have the power tillers, we have the drones, employed into agriculture. So slowly, it is no longer a donkey work. It is slowly getting into, sophistication, where even the young people now can do it. The work that could be done for, let's say, a whole week can now be done in 2 days' time because of the simplification, in terms of technology. But again, for the young people, I would want to tell them that you don't need to, agriculture is a whole value chain. You touched on it, and also Rhoda spoke about it. Agriculture starts from the production, then you have the collection, the aggregation, the processing, the marketing. You see, so there are so many opportunities in between. So you don't need to chip into tilling the land if you find that it is, very difficult. And I've seen a lot of young people, especially with the aggregation, they would wish to go during the seasons. They buy bulky, quantities, store them somewhere.
Excellent take, Emmanuel. Thank you so much.
Processing to add value. Yes. Back to you, Austin. Yeah.
Thank you so much. You've brought pertinent issues onto the discussion. I'm happy you've raised the issues of loans, which, Rhoda, I want you to take it from the research that you said has just been recently conducted. We've also launched recently a cooperative bank here in Tanzania to basically support cooperatives, which are mostly into agriculture. But Innocent, Emmanuel, you've mentioned the issues of importation of food in Africa, whereby Africa has been for many years by research supposedly possessed the potential to be the food basket of Africa and the world. The demand for food crops is high, and I'm happy you've used an example of the last person standing on earth. The last person standing on earth will still be looking for food, which is an indication that demand is high. But I would also like to bring the aspects of demand for knowledge, technical know-how for young people to really be engaged in agriculture. So Emmanuel, I'm going to come back to you on some of these issues you've raised. But again, Rhoda, if I can pick your brains on the loans to farmers. When you spoke about conducive environment, most, I wouldn't say all, most, including those banks that are almost fully dedicated to agriculture, do not easily give loans or funds to young people or to farmers because of the sector itself being very unpredictable. What is your take on that? What do you think, Rhoda, should be done so that the banks can take agriculture as a very serious business and really issue loans, even if they're dedicated loans to certain period, maybe harvest, as you're looking onto the value chain, or maybe planting when you're looking onto seeds and other agri inputs? What should banks be doing? Karibu.
Thank you so much, my brother, Austin. What I can say, in Tanzania, we have been witnessing the opening of cooperative bank, Coop Bank. and they have the package for youth. And as you see in Tanzania, there is a lot of initiative done through toward youth. One is BBT, Build Better Tomorrow. Now are going in a district park from the national point. Now they are going in district and the village. So we are the one of the stakeholder implementing this action toward youth. I think mechanization for financing youth who engaged in agriculture path as already made. There is initiative, but also as Kilimo Roundtable, we have come up with the mechanization of formulating youth group, which will enable them to be given the financing. But as we know in Tanzania, in a local government, there is a youth fund. But I think we need more education on youth engagement and youth to access those funds. For Tanzania, I think initiative has been made, and me being part of it, I think we have the good start. That's all I can say.
So thank you very much, Rhoda, for your take. Yes, there are various opportunities left, right, and center towards ensuring that agriculture is financed. I'm delighted to have Alan Subi joining us from Kampala, Uganda. Alan, good morning. Alan?
Good morning, Austin. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. How are you this morning and this beautiful Saturday?
I'm very, very fine. It's a hot Saturday morning in Kampala. Yeah, and so is my mood. It's bright.
So a quick one to you. We are honored today to have Mr. Emmanuel Kiaule and Madam Rhoda from the agriculture sector here in Tanzania, and you're joining us from Kampala, Uganda, looking onto why the young people are not attracted into venturing in agriculture. I want to pick your brain, Alan. Africa is a youthful continent, very young continent.
Yes, it is.
And most young people are not in employment. They do not see agriculture as a solution to really becoming the future millionaires, as Adesanya would put it, the president of AFTB. What is the case in Uganda? Can you tell us about youth engagement in agriculture there in Uganda? Karibu.
Thank you, Austin. And I send my warm regards to the guests that came before me. In Uganda, I don't think the story is different from what it is like in Tanzania. We actually have a lot more youth getting involved in border business, which is deadly, which is high risk, but they would rather move to the city to ride borders than stay in the villages and get involved in agriculture. And I think the problem is agriculture returns are not every day, and yet the youth are attracted to the daily income. They want daily income earning ventures to invest in. So you find that we have urban centers that are crowded, that are densely populated, and yet back in the villages, in the rural areas where there is ample land to practice agriculture, the places are sparsely populated. So the youth are moving to the city, lacking good education, and then they decide to get into these small businesses, but they don't make sense anyway. So So when you ask me if what the situation is like in Uganda, sadly, this is it. But luckily for such platforms, we get to discuss solutions. Yes, Austin.
Thank you, Alan, for your input. Absolutely, and there's a lot definitely that needs to be done. I take that. Emmanuel, let me come back to you. You spoke about the eruption of war recently and how it impacted food importation. It's pitiful, and all of us will agree. Rhoda, Alan, you'll all agree with me that as rich as an agricultural continent Africa is, we import food from smaller countries, not continent, countries. So how do we instill this in the minds of the young people that there is demand for food? And that is a simple example in that young people now should really be keenly engaged and involved into cultivation of agriculture, not into the tilting of land. And Emmanuel, I want you to use those words, tilting of land, but getting or venturing into the value chain. What is your take? How do we then stop importation of food or creating food dependency? What do you think should be done to create food independence in Africa? Emmanuel? Then Rhoda, you'll also chip in, and Alan Subia would be happy to get your input on that as well.
Yeah. So, it's all about, I would say it all starts with the political will, because here you talk of the basic infrastructure, the policies, the priorities. I'll give you an example. Since the shake in terms of wheat availability, then the government came up with a plan. Can you imagine, in less than 5 years, Ethiopia is now #1 producer of wheat in Africa. And soon they say they no longer need to import any wheat from abroad. They're able to meet their demand and even plan for exportation. So it can be done. I've seen some countries like Tanzania, cooking oil alone. We are spending a lot of dollars to import cooking oil into the continent. But we have plenty of, land that can be used for sunflower, a number of, sources for cooking oil, and it can be done. It can be done. So it all starts with I would say, the young person cannot just come in and change the situation overnight himself or herself, because there are some enabling factors that they need to find in place for them now to be able to do it. So if we are to do, let's say, sunflower farming, are there some processing plants? Do we have a proper rural infrastructure that would enable them to do it? And then after even processing, the factors around standards, standardization, the quality and standards regulations, are they friendly to enable these young people to now start producing and getting their products certified and get into the markets? There's a lot of bureaucracy that, so much bureaucracy around this. So I would say, yes, we can be able to do it. We have plenty of unutilized arable land. We are even lucky. I know we are talking about irrigation farming, but even with rain-fed agriculture, some countries in Africa enjoy 2 seasons in a year. Some countries in the world, they've never seen rain, or they will see rain for a few days or a few months. But for us, some, countries in this continent enjoy rainfall twice in a year, meaning we have plenty of water. You go to a country like Sudan, they're able to trap water in the underground tanks and so forth. So I would say you first have to do the basic work, the policy, the priority, national priorities, the infrastructure, and then the young people now say, here we are. So we now earmark the kind of importations that we would want to address. Let's say we start with sugar. Let's say we start with cooking oil or wheat. That now it is our national priority that we want to boost wheat production in Tanzania. We earmark the land, we do the basic infrastructure, we put in place the value chain, machinery to ensure that we are able to produce and make the products that the country needs. So I believe it can be done. Ethiopia has shown the way, and the rest of the countries can also be able to do the same. Back to you, Austin.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Rhoda, what is your take? What is your take? So you've heard Emmanuel pondering on to how we can make Africa food independent. What is your take?
Thank you so much, Mr. Austin. As my fellow said, in Africa, the opportunity is here, in Tanzania especially. We import a lot of wheat, we import a lot of soya, we import a lot. But do we know what Tanzania eats? Do we know the demand of Africa? Do we know what is South Sudan eat? So I think if the initiative of awareness can be done in Tanzania, I think more youth can engage in agriculture. Let me tell you, now in Tanzania, there is one company located in Ruvuma. They are cultivating wheat for all the breweries and the beer company. I think this opportunity, if we can be told to youth, it will be more valuable for our youth to be engaged in agriculture. I think when we know what the market wants, it will be easy for youth to participate in agriculture. Saying that, for us, Kilimo Roundtable, we are starting university tour, telling youth what Tanzania eats, what is the demand in the market. Most of people started at farmer point and going to the market. I think our focus should change. We should start in the market, going to the farmer. And for example, in Iringa, there is a big industry of tomato, but these people are importing tomato from outside the country. While in Iringa, there is a people cultivating tomato around the industry. So if we know the specification, if we know the language of the market, it will be easier for us to tell the young one that here there is the opportunity, and these people can supervise you on cultivating and all the specification acquired with the market. I think everyone has the role. The market we have, but who is taking initiative? Who is doing toward the market demand? Thank you.
Absolutely, totally in agreement. From the market to the farm, you make agriculture demand driven. You don't just go into the farming to just cultivate anything thinking that it will hit the market, but you look onto what the market demands and go accordingly. Alan Subi, over to you. How do we make Mama Africa food independent?
Austin, I think the testimony in Uganda is on a good trajectory, and I want to speak into some of the things that we're doing to make sure that we attain food independence. Number one is over 20 years right now, we have agriculture as a program, an education program in all major universities. So it's offered at bachelor's level and at master's level. So what this is doing is we're producing professionals in this field. So right now, when you see a big farm, a large farm, you realize that it has a farm manager that has a degree or a master's in agriculture. So we are doing things from an informed and professional point of view. We do also have training programs for farmers on best practices. And there are many youth programs doing this. There's Enable, there's PSFU. Both government and the private sector are engaging in these training programs. We also do have programs supported by media. Every week in both main dailies, New Vision and Daily Monitor, you'll find that there's profiling for a farmer that's doing well, and he's also advising on best practices, how he's made it. So then farmers have the right information to, keep them going. Government also has some initiatives that are encouraging farmers to move from sustenance farming to commercial. Things like the parish development model, empowering them financially. If you have a smaller piece of land, then you're empowered to either hire out, in the neighborhood, a bigger chunk so that you can produce more. So folks are being encouraged that way. Then finally, I want to talk about the financial institutions. Right now, we have more than 20. We have 25 to be exact. 26 Postbank just became a Pride Bank, just became a bank. Financial institutions, and they are all offering agricultural loans with flexible payment solutions. So because we have the sector depends on seasons, then the agricultural loans are paid that way, not every month. They're paid in seasons. So banks offering these services are then encouraging the youth to come take up these loans and practice agriculture. If we pay keen attention and then the budget aligns to these ventures that are already existing, I believe that we can attain food independence in Uganda and in Africa as a whole.
Thank you so much, Alan Subi. And again, you've brought another very pertinent issue, the aspect of training, the training program, and that you have them at the master level and bachelor's level in Uganda. It's fantastic. You bring more managers into the sector. And Emmanuel, you have been in the agricultural sector probably more than anyone on this podcast this morning. And we have in Tanzania, Sokoine University of Agriculture, probably one of the oldest in Africa. But again, agriculture is contributing less than, Rhoda, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but agriculture is contributing less than 3 or 5 or less than 10% in the GDP. Do you think the context that Alan, my dear sweetheart, from Uganda, bringing the aspect of education and capacity building and training programs into the picture really is sufficing? Is because what I have seen in most of our education system is the fact that people attain or gain theories and not practical. What is your take, my brother Emmanuel?
Much. Yeah, thank you so much, Austin and Rhoda and Alan, for the very nice contributions. Yeah, we have the graduates. To tell you the truth, I've tried to use them a few times. One time I was engaging them as under a retention program, some agribusiness experts. And then even recently, I had a certified vet in the farm to be able to supervise the farm full time. But to tell you the truth, majority of the graduates are still full of theories, as you have said it. Yeah. And at times, it even, you even ask, was it something that they did with passion, or there were some factors that forced them into what they are doing? I fully agree that we have some very nice people. I know who are, some graduates from, you mentioned Sokoine University that have gone to study. Even in Israel, I know who have gone to Netherlands, and they are doing very well. To tell you the truth, majority are doing very well. But again, we as farmers, the capacity to engage them full time in terms of the packages that they need, the salaries, the consultations, and this and that. Majority of us, find it a little difficult to be able to do it. But for me, I'm always in consultation, and I ensure I have them in the farm. But I'm pretty sure majority of the young people are not able to get them. And then even the graduates now, as I told you, you find somebody who would always go to Google for, there is a little challenge. They are not sure what to do. Then they search some, the same kind of information that I too can access from my mobile phone. So what value do they add into agriculture? So this is the question that I would want to throw to all these institutions. How do we make these graduates? One, make it more practical. Don't spend more time in the class studying theories. Can they be more practical? How many months, how much of the time that they're studying, they spend it in the farm to be able to see the situation on the ground so that they can come up with practical solutions. We don't even need to import the technology. We can be able to devise our own technologies that are so relevant to our situation than the one that we're importing. So I would say the universities, they really need to look at this. I like the way Alan has put. I know the situation in Uganda. I worked in Uganda. Good to see that the New Vision and the Daily Monitor are now giving priority to agriculture. Those days were very political, very political. It was all about politics and this and that. So if now agriculture also finds space, this is very good. Uganda is doing very well with dairy farming. Actually, it is now the dominant producer in the region. I know it has been on loggerheads with some neighboring countries because of the milk they are producing in excess, and they are now exporting to the neighboring countries. They are also doing very well with poultry and goat farming. So I can agree that the education and the national priorities can enable a country to have these experts now go to the grassroots. We have the extension officers. To tell you the truth, even where I do my farming, I've never seen them visiting us. Where are they? They are provided with motorcycles. They are provided with transport to be able to support the farmers, but you never find them. Where are they? We call them officers. The moment you call them officers, officers stay in the office. They never come to the field. Maybe we look for a better name that will enable them to assimilate to the field more than the office. Back to you, Austin.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. And as you are speaking, I was recalling 2 days ago I had a meeting with the Brazilian ambassador here in Tanzania, and he spoke about, of course, Brazil in terms of size is larger, more close to 10 times we are, but he said Brazil is the #1 exporter of beef. And also, he spoke about how Tanzania imports sugar from Brazil. And I kept wondering, we import food, beef. And Tanzania, Emmanuel, is the second. And I want you, Alan Subi, to come here because Emmanuel just spoke about how good you guys are in livestock. But Tanzania is the second country in Africa with the largest number of livestock. But again, we're not going into politics of debating who is doing what and where. But my question to you now, Rhoda, and then Alan Subi, maybe you can chip in. The young people today want money now. They want to do a business that in a couple of months they already make their money and they know how best they can spend that money. But agriculture does not promise that. How do we instill that into the mind of young people that you've got to have the patience, you have to have the determination, you have to have a steel of mind and heart to really reap from agriculture? Rhoda, to start with you, then Alan Subi, would appreciate your input.
Thank you so much, Austin. When we speak about agriculture, it's not going to the farm, to farm. We speak about the whole value chain of agriculture, the marketing, the storage facility. As before started the Kilimo Roundtable dialogue platform, I'm also fertilizer distributor. I've been in the distribution market more than 20 years. Let me tell you, the money is in a distribution path. So I think the gap are in information more, and it is our duty to tell the young one, here there is money. But also the government should do their part, not to allow importer who imports from whoever the country to go to the interior. There must be the value chain in between, not to kill the value chain. So the value chain can provide the employment for youth and the other people. So I think if the government can control the importer, maybe to reach in a region point, and to allow other people to go through the interior area, and those value chain has the money. But again, Austin, I would like it to remind you again, let us construct some report of what has been discussed in this morning. I think we have to contribute in the government as well. Let us take our opinion there that this, if can be done, the youth can be benefit in this value chain. As we know, every year university have offload more than 800 youth every year. Where are those going? Where are these youth going to do in the market? And as we see, as statistics shows, 65% of the population in Tanzania are engaged in agriculture. Let us be serious on this path. That for me, I can see the right path for creating more employment for our young one. Thank you, Austin.
Thank you so much, Rhoda. Alan Subi, over to you. Young people want money now. Rhoda, I'm going to come back to you when you said the government should put some kind of quota or trade barrier so that we can promote internal production. But again, I think the government allows, from my recent knowledge, that we allow some importation so that it can carve the gap, the demand that is created after consumption of what is locally produced. But I would really want to pick your brain on that. So if the government stops this, for instance, importing sugar from Brazil, and we do not have sufficient sugar to meet the demand, internal demand, how are we going to survive? But again, let's hear what Alan has to say on the aspect that the young people want money now and then, not tomorrow, so that we are able now to understand what mechanism we should deploy to encourage young people to venture into agriculture. Alan Subi, over to you.
Austin, Rhoda raises some pertinent points. If the agriculture sector is employing 65% of Tanzania's workforce, it potentially stands as our main income earner, not just for Tanzania, but for Africa. So then I think that I have mentioned on this platform before that in Uganda, we ran a campaign for several years called Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. And I think the same can be done even for agriculture. We need a social behavior change communication campaign that shines a light on the benefits of agriculture, whereas we cannot be earning from it daily in some seasons. It's still better than the 20,000 Uganda shilling daily earning that is coming from border borders, I don't know, those small saloons and other kwara businesses that the youth are being involved in. At least with agriculture, if you go commercial, you know that, depending on what you're growing, in 4 months, you can be earning 10 times what you would have earned in these small businesses a month. So that communication needs to come out clearly. We need to be more deliberate, more intentional about educating the youth on and with the intention of changing their social behavior so that they embrace agriculture more. Because earning daily should not be looked at, but earning more should be the important point. Yeah, so I think that needs to happen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alan. And looking on to the 65, the 70, the 75, the 80% of employment that emanate from the agricultural sector. Emmanuel, let me pick this again up from you. still, as we speak about these numbers, 65% of the population, you're talking about population of Tanzania close to 65 million. So you're talking about more than 30 million people in agriculture, and probably Africa and Tanzania being a young population, these are young people, but we still do not have those numbers. We still do not have those numbers. Many times, my dear sister Rhoda has spoken about the government needs to do this and that. The government needs to do this and that. Emmanuel, I want you to inspire young people to venture into agriculture. I'm not sure if your inspiration was contributed or attributed by any government intervention. How did you start to venture into agriculture?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Austin. Yeah, one, to tell you, for me, it's more of a passion. It has not been an easy undertaking. I've always been away, working abroad, and agriculture. They say the best fertilizer in your farm are your footprints. If you are not there, then for sure things might not go the way you want it to be. So most times when I come back, I would find things are in shambles and trying to put them in place together and so forth. But my plan is to now settle down and follow up permanently. Even if you have the cameras, you do the meetings every day, it's not the same as you being present. So now, for me, it is more of a passion. I really love agriculture, and I know the potential in agriculture, as I said earlier on. One is I want to provide myself and my family quality food, but also want to also make something out of it. And so far, I've not reached a very, very big commercial scale, but it is so much promising. I wouldn't say I was inspired by a policy or a project or what, but it was largely out of my own, undertaking that I thought I should get into agriculture. In fact, it is now like 10 years from the time I started. And I'm somewhere. I know one day I'll be one of the people to be talked about when it comes to farming in Tanzania. So that's my vision, and I'm sure it will not take long from now. Now, getting back to the young people, Alan has raised some very important issues. You can't imagine now here in Tanzania, we have young people with 2 degrees, university degrees, riding a tricycle, a bajaji. Hmm? We have some graduates, including those from agriculture, who ride on the borders. And again, the misconception is about making money now. I need to do something and get a quick win right now. And this has been an addiction in young people. Now we have this betting business. Oh my goodness, it is terrible. Young people now are addicted into betting, or in terms of football, in terms of all this kind of betting. Whichever money that they get is always injected into betting because they really want to get quick wins and be able to get the money right away. So now, as Alan has said, we need to, to demystify the young people that it's not about you getting money quickly, but it's you about getting one what we call a decent job, the one that can make you live, a decent life, when you also have a family, and then it is safe, and it is also has the potential of, expanding and so forth. So you waiting for 3 months and earn more than what you would have earned daily on a motorbike, on a tricycle, is much better, and you are even lesser in terms of risks that you have undertaken and so forth. So we need to do the demystification, to really instill into the young people that please don't be narrow-sighted. There is so much potential, and we can show some examples of young people who have already made it. I know them in many countries. They are there. Even in Tanzania, they are there. Some young people who have made it, and they can. Tanzanian government, the Building Better Tomorrow, the BBT, which is very good. However, there are some areas that we might wish to improve on. Instead of getting them into camps, why don't we touch them under the already successful farmers, where they do like an internship, a practical internship, learn from them, be with them, And by the time they leave that place, they have the practical knowledge, not the theories and this and that. They know the market, as you've said. They need to be informed what is needed in the market. Then they get to the farm to produce what is needed in the market. So for me, I would say for young people, there's so much potential, but we don't even need to tell them. Sometimes the moment there is an opportunity, nobody told the young people to go into Bajaji and the borders. They saw the potential quickly. They went there. Nobody taught them to go and do betting. They saw the potential of making quick wins. So if they can also see the same potential in agriculture, for sure, you will find them getting in. I see them in horticulture, especially horticulture, because it's urban farming. It can, it's not very heavy in terms of capital. Is not a very long kind of undertaking. It's only 3 months time. You're able to, some of them can be even harvested in 1 month's time, like the simple vegetables. So why don't we start slowly attracting them into these ones, show them the potential, do block farming. Sorry, I'm taking long, but allow me to also mention this. There is so much fragmentation in our agriculture. So small patches of land. And so you cannot meet the demand in the market with this kind of production. Why don't we do the same as we've done with the PPT? Why don't we do block farming, whereby we are able to join so many farms, small patches of land into a bigger area where we can apply mechanization, where we can apply modern technology and increase, production and be able to meet. And you can convert it into shares. Now we have the cooperative bank. You can use the patches. You measure the patches, the small pieces of land, convert them into shares, and then you now merge them into a bigger area where you can apply mechanization, they can access big loans, then they produce. Once you have the produce, then you now divide it in terms of shares, the size of the patches that were merged. So I see the potential. I would wish to encourage young people. I'm doing it and I've seen the potential myself. I reached a point where I'm able to feed several families around me. It's not something small. I'm happy. And I would look forward into even expanding more. Back to you, Austin.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. And it's critical, and I'm delighted, really, and very honored to have you on this program this morning as we are looking on to involvement and engagement of young people in agriculture in the entire African continent. Thank you so much for making time this morning. Rhoda, thank you so much. And Alan Subi, thank you so much for your contribution. I want to ask a very simple question. Everyone this morning will have their breakfast, be it sausage, be it corn, maize, be it donuts from wheat, etc., etc. But everyone this morning will have some kind of breakfast. Could be milk, could be tea leaves. We have tea plantations here in Tanzania, etc. So everyone eats, Emmanuel, and the way you had mentioned it earlier keeps coming into my head that, even if there's one man standing on earth, that one man will need to eat. I think why then is the perception, I'm not sure if it's the perception or if it's the reality, why is then, and I would really want to have it from you, Emmanuel. You did mention in your just ended response that you're feeding a couple of families around you, those who either buy milk or horticulture products or poultry products from you. But why then don't we have on the top list of millionaires, either in Africa or in Tanzania, in Africa or in the world, we do not have farmers on the list? And I'm happy that Alan Subi said, the New Vision as well as Daily Monitor highlights the successful farmers in Uganda. Why don't we have on the list? Maybe that could have attracted young people to venture into agriculture. Do we have millionaires, billionaires, trillionaires on that list, so that maybe in a way people could now want to relate and venture into agriculture? To start with you, Emmanuel, and Rhoda, I'm coming to you with the same question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Austin. Let me tell you, as Alan has said, maybe we are not communicating enough.
Mhm.
I know one of the billionaires in Tanzania who has even appeared into the Forbes magazine several times. This guy has industries that are specifically on processing agricultural products. They're even exporting some of the agricultural produce from Tanzania to outside countries. And he has been doing it for so many years. So part of his wealth is, emanating from agriculture. Maybe we have not communicated it well. I know some young people, to tell you the truth, their business turnover is in terms of millions in this country. They do poultry. Somebody who has a business turnover almost 200 million per month, and he's a young man. You see, so they are there. Maybe we have not communicated it enough. Maybe we have not captured it enough, or they don't also brag around. There are those business people who wish to appear in the limelight every day, but these people are there. They are not too many, but they are few, but we might use them as role models. As I said, we can even place some of these graduates, some of these young people who want to venture into agriculture, we can place them under these people so that they can learn the secrets of the game and be able to also, follow suit. So I would say if you are riding a motorbike, these are the benefits. Let's say we do a research. In 3 months' time, if you are riding a motorbike, you are able to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But in 3 months' time, or let's say 6 months' time, if you do poultry, you'll be able to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see this example here. Yeah, I'm telling you, we might get shocked how potential agriculture is in transforming people's lives. And these young people, they only run into the quick wins because they don't have any other alternative. They don't have access to resources. They don't have access to land. They don't have the knowledge, the training, and so forth. But the moment they're equipped with all this, for sure, no one would want to go and endanger their lives into such kind of quick wins or betting and this and that, which are not very decent. Yeah, back to you, Austin.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. And when I'm coming back to you, again, in the aspect of inspiring and motivating young people into agriculture, I want us to look on to now, where do young people get the startup capital? Where did you get the startup capital to venture into agriculture? You've grown. I've seen you, Emmanuel, grow into the field, and I'm mesmerized by the stuff you do. And one of these days, as you invited me, I'm going to come to the farms, take lots of pictures, and show the world, yo, man, young people going to agriculture. This is Emmanuel. He started humbly with 2 chicken, but this is now his poultry farm. Let me go to Rhoda. Rhoda, let me also have your take on the list of millionaires. If you look onto the list of millionaires on the world list, you see people in the tech. You see Gates, you see the Facebook guy, the Musk, Elon Musk, etc. Those into the tech. This has continued to see most young people venturing into IT, AI, etc., rather than in agriculture. What is your take? Maybe if we bring the faces of the likes of Emmanuel and Rhoda and Alan Subi, and those that Alan Subi speaks about passionately in Uganda, doing a lot in agriculture, probably young people could be attracted to agriculture. What's your take in terms of, the heroes, the heroes that we want to be like, not showing up in the agricultural sector and industry? Rhoda, what's your take?
Thank you so much, my brother Austin. A lot has been said, and I don't want to distort those valuable contribution. But for me, I think agriculture has plenty. And me being one of beneficiary of agriculture value chain, I know what my brother what is telling us. I understand the language. My brother, we are singing the same choir. So the people the people who have the one who have in agriculture value chain, we understand there is a lot of money. The gap is the information gap between market and industry and the youth. I think we have to engage youth in this discussion. I would rather say we have to arrange another discussion at a university tour, whatever, where the youth are available to listen as well what youth want, what youth speak, what we have to tell them. I would like this conversation could be had with more people than 5 of us. And saying about Boda Boda has been speaking a lot in this conversation. Let me tell you, Boda Boda are also the part of agriculture ecosystem, are the one who deliver grocery into our home, fruits, food every day. So I think we have to create some environment which is very conducive, environment which will sustain them, and telling them you are the part of ecosystem. But again, let us tell them the opportunity available in the market. When I was saying the government should put some barrier, I was meaning that the importer should bring the whatever they import. We cannot sustain without importation some part, especially in fertilizer part. But let those importer end at region points, and let the rest taking care of Tanzanian people, including youth, where that's the part where we make all the millionaires and all that. So for me, I think I like to say bye because I'm engaging in another meeting. Thank you so much. I really enjoy the conversation.
Rhoda, thank you so much. We've truly been very honored. Africa is celebrating you and your success. And thank you so much on behalf of the entire African continent for making time this morning to speak to young people on how and why they should engage in agriculture. And I wish you a fruitful day and engagement. Thank you so much, Rhoda. Emmanuel, over to you. So where did you get the capital? I think most of the young people struggle today in relation to the capital. Where do they source the capital to start up venturing into agriculture? We will get to the knowledge later. Where did you learn? But to start with, where did you get the capital to buy those first 2 chicken you had to the chicken farm that you have today?
Yeah. Anyway, so thank you so much. One, we are always advised into when you get into agriculture, you should start small and try to avoid as much as you can taking loans because it's more of a trial and error stage where things are quite unpredictable, the twists and turns and so forth. So it's always good not to access loans or anything that might be demanding for you to start paying back before you see how your undertaking is progressing. So I would say for me, I started small, very small. Like now, I do dairy cows. I'm not a very rich guy, but I'm somewhere, with a good number of them. But to tell you, I bought 1 cow, and I'm not joking. I know this joke that somebody says he started with a feeder, and now he has 40,000 beds. No, but for me, for sure, I had 1 cow. I did not even have a shade to keep it. I had to request a neighbor to keep it for me for some time until when I was able to do a shade and brought it. Now I have a modern shade and there are like 20 something dairy cows and I'm growing. My target is to have like 30, 50 in like 1.5 years from today. So it's growing slowly. It's growing slowly. I'm adapting to the market, the demand, and making sure the business is able to stand on its own feet. It's not that something small. With poultry again, I also started small. It's a joke, but we have to accept it. You start where you are. My philosophy is to use whatever you have. Most people when they are told to list down the requirements for whatever that they want to do, their mind will always go into what they don't have. They will not start with what they have. So the moment you start looking at what I don't have, then you will not be able to make any progress. Those first steps are so important. So I remember the first time I brought in the chicks. Eh? I had an unfinished house, where I kept them. I bought the first ones were 200. So I started that small. Slowly, I was able to get them next to my house and then move them to the farm. And there I am today. So I wouldn't say I had a lot of money. I would save little money that I had from my salary to be able to do it. Now I'm at a stage where even the financial resource partners would want to come and chip in. But I'm like, no, wait until I do a proper plan that I now fall into a bigger industrial scale. So I would say I did not have much money. I started small, and this is what I would want to encourage the young people. You can start small. You don't need to have the whole world. You can start small. You can do a little shade next to your house, provided it fits into all the requirements, the ventilation, the water, the security, the this and that. You can start from there. And as you are growing, now you can go and look for a farm and then expand slowly based on the demand and supply dynamics. So I wouldn't say you need a lot, millions of money to start. You can start small. I know a number of people, allow me to give you this example, just the last one. I know a professor, a university professor who now does poetry. And something funny, how did he start? Yeah, it's something very funny. He used to stay in those houses provided by the university. So one day, a crow came, with a chick. I think it snatched it from somewhere, and then it was now resting on a tree next to his house. So he saw it, he saw the chick crying. The guy now took a stone and hit the crow, and then the crow let go the chick. Can you imagine? This is how the guy started. And now he's into poetry and he's doing very well. He's one of the people that I'm mentoring. So start small. Don't think of big capital. As you've said, you start from the market. What is needed in the market? Then you start small and expand slowly. Imagine 10 years' time, I don't call myself a big farmer yet, but I know in a few years' time, I'll be able to get there because I was always away. But now I spend more time into the farm and able to follow up on these things. So I wouldn't say capital should be the stumbling block. The capital should be the idea in the mind. What do you want to do? And what is it needed by the community? And then how do you start with the little resources you have and expand slowly until when you are now credit worth to access these millions and millions from the banks and government initiatives and so forth. Back to you, Austin. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. You are really an inspiration. Maybe as Rhoda kept saying that we need to really push this topic on and on and on so that young people can learn more and more. That you just say that you should, as you start, you should not focus or think or ponder so much onto what you do not have. Rather think of what you already have and how you can multiply that. I think that is typical, an inspiration that a young person would want to hear today. We are talking to young men and women in Africa. We are young, Emmanuel. I'm always, Tanzania describes young people between the ages of 15 and 35. I'm way past 35, but again, I'm a young person, and you've inspired me in a way that, we always think about drones. We do not even have a garden. And you're thinking about, pesticides and planting and, monitoring using drones. How much is a drone? $900, the cheapest drone, et cetera, et cetera. Why don't you start with that little farm and be there, like you've dedicated your time into agriculture now? Be there and being there. I think this is critical. What you have, focus on what you have rather than what you do not have. Thank you so much to that. And I am starting, Emmanuel. By the time we have this discussion next time, ask me that question. I'll say no five. You and as I am right now, zero. You know, zero. But I am starting. It's a discussion I also had with my team yesterday in the office. Was like, soon going to community leadership role. And our community being a pastoralist community, and as a leader, I do not even own a single goat. It's insane. So I'm going to venture onto that. I'm going to focus on what I currently have and how that can multiply to. I like the aspirations you have. In 1.5 years, you're gonna be large, and I really have to catch up to your shoes. Now, Emmanuel, you and me on Wake Up Africa this morning talked to entire the African continent. I want to understand from you. So Rhoda insisted that it takes you, me, and everybody else to ensure that we make agriculture appealing to the young people. Okay? Young people tend to have the mindset of, if I'm into agriculture, I cannot have a posh life. If I'm into agriculture, I cannot drive, posh cars. I cannot have a posh house. I've got to live in the farms, I've got to get my hands muddy. This is the mindset that I really wish that Wake Up Africa this morning transforms into, yes, get muddy now, so that you're able to fly private jet. I know of a guy in one of the regions in Tanzania who does not have a private jet, but whenever he travels alone. In that aeroplane. It's like he charters the aeroplane. I want to fly solo. I do not have a private jet, but I'm gonna fly solo. So, and he's into agriculture. He's into Emmanuel is into rice cultivation in Bear. Such an inspiration guy. So, how do we then make agriculture appealing to young people? How do we make it appealing? You and me into communication. We should be able to really craft agriculture, craft the messages, craft the tone, and instill it into the politicians, the heroes. Honorable Bash has attempted, we're talking of Ulega when he was the Minister for Livestock. He attempted so much getting young people into livestock and fisheries, the current minister as well. They're doing so much into, you spoke about the BBT, the program that Tanzania is running at the moment, trying to appeal young people into agriculture. But is there anything that we're not doing right? What's your take?
Is it to me or Alan?
It is the two of us. I'm not sure if Alan is
Okay.
on. It's just you and me on the program now.
Okay, great. Yeah. So, one, we need to, identify the success stories. There are plenty, to tell you the truth, at different stages and levels. So we cannot, like the guy you have mentioned, the one who flies into, in a private jet, might be too far a success for a young person who wants to start now. But there are also those who are now starting. How did they start? Something small that they can relate easily, and then be able to start, following them. And later on, they turn into bigger things. So I would say, let's have these success stories collected and also amplified and get them across so that people can see that it is really happening now and be able to follow. That is number one. Number two, most of the programs, to tell you the truth, we are doing quite a lot. Every country, I've been to all these 4 countries that I've worked, but I've been to over 10 African countries. Every country, every now and then, they have this program, that program, this program, that program. It is time now for us to sit down and reflect. How much have we been able to record in terms of strides? Yeah. Are there some issues? Did we really get to the root cause of the problem, or did we come up with a short solution that does not, sustain it for long? I'll give you an example. The best way for me to teach the young people about agriculture is to place them under those who are now doing it. Just place them under them. So we request that we have some proper practical trainings for the graduates or for the young people who want to engage into agriculture. So we identify these young farmers who are doing well all across the country. There are plenty, I tell you, in different value chains. And then we now have these young people placed under them. where they see the really field work going on. They see the daily challenges that the person faces, and then how does he go about them, and so forth. So it is not about theories anymore. Let's get out of classes. Let's do more practical work. Let's not go into theories. Let's have these young people, first-hand experience from the field. To tell you the truth, I've learned it that way. There's so much knowledge on social media, the YouTube channel, everywhere. There's always some of these things I'm doing, I'm learning daily from these channels. And there's so much knowledge that is out there. But how do we practice it? Where do I now go and see practical example of what I'm supposed to do and know the dynamics in the market? I know a lady who gave a testimony. She got into cucumber farming. She only went, she was told, cucumber pays a lot. So she went to Iringa. She did the cucumber farming. She had a whole semi-trailer, a whole lorry loaded with cucumbers. And she brought them to Dar es Salaam to one of the local markets here. And she thought she would make money out of it. I tell you, those middlemen will never allow her to sell her produce in that market. Then they started coming up with stories to water down whatever the product that she had. Can you imagine all that, almost 20 tons were all spoiled right there at that market. And it was such a disaster to her because she had invested all that she had. So she had to go back and learn the politics in the business, the middlemen, the market, the demand by, the challenges in terms of transport, the cold chain system, and so forth. So these ones will never be learned in a classroom. They will learn it from seeing it happen right in front of their face. And this is better done under somebody who is doing the business right now. Let's say somebody wants to do poultry now, is placed under me, and then I'm able to teach them. They see me doing it. They see me doing marketing. They see me, address issues of, let's say, disease, safety, security. It will really be more helpful to them than just staying in class. They learn, and then they have just a few months out of the 4 years. They only have like 4 months of practical training, and then they are loaded into the market. They're offloaded into the market, the job market. They will not make it. So for me, I would say we use the success stories that we already have. There are plenty of them. Some very successful young people. Some do not even want to share because it also has some implications. Some are still struggling to stand on their feet. Making the farm run on its own is not easy, my friend. Paying salaries, providing all the required services, it's not that easy. So sometimes the oversight bodies, before you are able to stand on your own feet, they are on your neck, asking for this, asking for that. And at the end of the day, the farm dies. So some people have decided to go underground because they know the moment I come into the limelight, I'll get into trouble. And they have heard a few of them saying that. So again, we need to look at these oversight bodies. They should be there to nurture and support instead of coming now to frustrate whatever initiative that the young people are putting in place. Back to you, Austin.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. It is as beautiful as it's scary. I must say, the example you gave got my goosebumps on that, it's not every knowledge that is acquired in school. Some street, ground, solid knowledge is the pertinent knowledge. I truly appreciate that. Emmanuel, during the previous 2 days, I had the opportunity to engage with His Excellency Thabo Mbeki. I'm not sure if you're away, he's in town, but he's visiting Tanzania for the Africa Day, and he's given a lecture at the University of Dar es Salaam 2 days ago, and I think there's another lecture today at one of the hotels in Dar es Salaam. And part of his closing remarks, which I picked very dearly, is listen to the young people. As you're saying about taking a moment to reflect on all the campaigns and all the, the agenda countries have had raising, changing from one to the other. Tanzania alone, we had big results now to Kilimo Kwanza, to so many other things. Now we have BBT. do we really make time to sit and reflect on to how they can be impactful, and how, how they've been transformative into the lives and into the sector itself is really truly pertinent. And again, overemphasizing, and I've picked it, telling the success stories, and I'm looking on to Emmanuel. I'm looking on to how best we can tell the stories. I'm looking onto how best we can tell the stories. I do not know how the IT gigs, the AI gigs, my producer of Wake Up Africa, former, was, his name is S, as an AI guy. The way you would open YouTube and see AI, learn AI, do AI, live AI, young people are doing businesses through AI, this and that. But we do not see that in agriculture, and whoever speaks that gets the energy from food. But again, food and agriculture is not celebrated. So telling the success stories remain very critical. But again, as we want to tell the stories, Emmanuel, allow me to again have, as we're having this dialogue, this conversation with you, the young people, at what juncture do we involve them to understanding their needs? We sit in our offices locked in the four walls and say the young people need this education, the young people need that training, the young people need those seats, the young people need those markets. But at what juncture, in your humble opinion, do you think young people need to be convened to speak for themselves, so we take their opinion at hand and take them forward?
Now, thank you so much. Form the biggest chunk of the online community. They can go without a meal, but not with the internet bundle. Okay? They really look for information every 1 minute. They are there. So how do we package these stories of young people getting into agriculture? I don't want to mention, but one time there was a meeting in Accra, Ghana, and a lady from Zambia wondered why we are talking about attracting young people into agriculture, but most of the reports and publications on agriculture, there were a very old person on the front page, very old and tired. Most photos are of old people and tired, poor, surroundings and so forth. How do you now attract young people? So we need to change. And he said we need to make agriculture sexy. Yeah. So I'll give you an example. I know a farmer in Tanzania, a young lady who is based in, I think, Kilimanjaro, a very beautiful young lady. And she uses her beauty and, to attract young people into agriculture. So she takes her photos in the field. Today she's into rice farming. Tomorrow she's now taking care of the cows. The other day she's in the warehouse and this and that. I tell you, she has a very big following on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook. I'm talking of thousands and thousands of people engaged into our content. So this is how we can get the young people attracted into agriculture, make it look sexy, beautiful, and attract young people to see that, oh, it's beautiful. So you see a young man looking very well, and they, see the success that he has made. One time I went to Congo. I think you know Congo district, and
Yes, in
I was
Dodoma.
shocked. Yes, I was shocked. I met a young man. He had two wives. He had built better houses than mine for the two wives. So each wife has her own house, very modern, right in the village. And they had solar power. They had a drilled well. So the borehole. So he was self-sufficient. And this young man was doing maize farming in Kiteto and also Kongwa district. So if we can show young people that look at him, all this success is because of what he's doing, and be able to capture this, make it very short. Young people don't have the time to look at long things and so forth. So make like a 1.5 minutes video to explain about this young person and this and that, provide some contacts if they want to talk to him, if they want to visit him. I tell you, if we can do this, me and you as a communication specialist, but also encourage the media, the digital influencers to also push this content into the young people, I tell you, it will be a very big change into the perception about agriculture. And you can get some also joining into agriculture. Yeah. So this can be done. Now you talked about us discussing and coming up with policy. I tell you, most times all these policies and this and that, either they are politically motivated, so they would always look at the issues around elections. They will be looking at, let's say, a term of 5 years, but they will never be beyond that. So why don't we now, as you've said, we have a very good idea and we have the young people. Even if I know the politician would want to have a progress that has the numbers, quick wins, very good. But talk to the young people. If they do horticulture right, within a very short time, you're able to get those numbers. So the politician too will benefit, but the young people will also benefit. But the best way is to be informed by them. Let's not think we know what they want. Can we sit down with them, talk to them, give them the knowledge, let them now say, we think we want to change. Then you can advise them how to go about it, but let them be the ones to play the forefront role, other than you deciding and also dictating terms for them. But so far, if you're able to do that, I tell you, we can see the change in them. Back to you, Austin.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Very, very informative. And Emmanuel, allow me to yet again, as we are drawing close to the end of Wake Up Africa this morning, look onto the aspects that you've also raised in your response of theory vis-a-vis practice. I did mention earlier, SUA is one of the largest universities in Africa for agriculture, Sokoine University of Agriculture. But I think SUA has had a major transformation after they had a side program whereby graduates of SUA would go after their graduation onto a project to really now put into practice what they had learned. Now, to begin with you, are you documenting, Emmanuel, you as a person, are you documenting your steps by step into agriculture so that tomorrow and the day after, if I want to say, look onto poultry, if I want to say, look onto livestock and horticulture, I can be able to say, I know Emmanuel, or I've seen Emmanuel on the Wake Up Africa podcast, he's written this and that. I can attest because he's demonstrated the knowledge of the content. And I want to read this book and I want to try what is done. And it will probably work on my end as well. Now, I want to look onto one, documentation. Are we documenting enough? Number two, are we providing enough room, even at the school level? You and me were almost at school years about the same time. We used to have Maarifa ya Jamii. You know, we used to have subjects that really taught us onto agriculture, taught us onto tilting of land. You know, we would go to watering, etc., which are not the subjects today. You know, I was shocked. First time I went to a boarding school after finishing primary level, then I was told bring a hoe. I was like, oh my God, what is not happening? You know, I probably did not even have a knowledge what a hoe looked like then, but I appreciate that I did that. Now, theory vis-a-vis practice. Where do young people get the knowledge to agriculture? Not necessarily farming, but to agriculture. If they want to venture today into aquaculture, where do they source that knowledge from? If they want to venture onto tilting of land, actual farming, where do they learn the good practices?
Yep. Thank you so much. Let me begin with a very interesting research that was conducted in the UK in 2019. They went to the preschool kids and did a very small survey of their knowledge about agriculture. You can't imagine, 1 out of 3 believed a cow lay eggs. Yeah,
All right.
I tell you,
Okay.
it's a study that was conducted in the UK, 2019. Now that
Uh-huh.
is in the UK, but But if you come to even Tanzania or some African countries, I tell you, we have kids who do not know where their food comes from. So there is a very big problem in our education system, right from the word go. Those school kids, I remember the days when we were starting kindergarten, we would take care of the plants, the flowers, the what. Then in primary school, we had our own farm. We produce our own food. I remember our school, even primary school, we were eating every day, except for Wednesdays, I think, when we had a shorter day. But the rest of the days we would eat. And much of the food we were eating, we produced it ourselves. That is the socialism and self-reliance from Nyerere, you know. Now, nowadays we have schools that have tenders to they float tenders for people to supply them with vegetables. So our kids now, they cannot even produce the simple vegetables they eat at school. And they are keeping our kids so busy to the extent that they don't have anything else to do. I have my kids in secondary school. One is in high school, another one in secondary school, another one in primary school. To tell you the truth, these kids are preoccupied with homework. There is homework for this, homework for that. Then there's a preschool. They have to go even on weekends, on public holidays. So it's all about studying. There's nothing more. Even at the school, they have cleaners to clean their classrooms. They have people to take care of the gardens, not the kids. So this is a disaster. It's like a boiling. For sure, it is going to blow up, and it will never take long from now. We have some kids who do not know where their food comes from. They don't know even how to produce simple food for themselves. Then how do you get them into agriculture? These are the people now, transitioning into secondary school, then into universities. Then they now study agriculture, but much of the agriculture they are studying is in the classroom, and it's all around theories. Then by the time they are now, thrown into the streets, these people will not make it. That's why you find somebody who studied, agribusiness is now riding a motorbike or a tricycle. It's such a disappointment to the teacher. But also the education system either using him into motorcycle ride, the knowledge that he has. So from the word go, I've seen some people in some countries where they start encouraging young people to have small gardens at home, small gardens at school, small gardens So for me, I would say the knowledge, much of the knowledge nowadays, I tell you, is at your fingertips. You go to YouTube now, whatever knowledge that you want on agriculture, I tell you, there are millions of videos, millions of books out there for free. You can go and have your finger on. So fingers on. So for me, I would say let's start from school. And my plan is also to do the same. I know a farmer in Iringa who does special classes for young kids to go and learn. They see the cows, they milk the cows, so that when the child says, I like milk, they say, we want to show you where your milk comes from. If somebody says, I like ice cream, let's show you how we get ice cream. If they say, I like bread, let's show you how we make the bread from the farm all the way to your table. So we need to have all these concerted efforts put in place to encourage young people from the young age. I'm now trying to introduce one of my kids into farming. So every time I go to the farm, I'm with her. She'll be there. She'll do this. She'll do that. You never know. She'll be interested and get along. So it's a long story. I know we cannot exhaust it in these 2 hours, but we can plan and have segmented discussions around all these issues that we are raising today. Back to you, Austin.
Appreciated. And literally, Emmanuel, thank you so much. I was going to ask you, the question that you've already preempted, and I would really want it to be a standalone You know, you've mentioned the fact that you're also introducing agriculture into the family by engaging one of your kids, one of your daughters into agriculture. And I wanted to know, one of the reasons I'd mentioned earlier on from my research is the mere fact that we as parents also have a role in influencing the direction that our kids, our children, and family take in terms of looking onto agriculture as, you know, we'll get a shamba boy, someone to tilt our land and et cetera, vis-a-vis you go and tend to the farm, you go and tend to the chicken, to the cows, etc. So as I wish, and this will probably be my last but one, or probably my last question, Emmanuel, to you, what role do we have as parents in influencing our children or our young people, our young teenagers in the house to really venture, look onto agriculture as something that could really transform their lives and their future? What role do we have as parents? What's your take, Emmanuel?
Yeah, thank you so much. We play a big role in influencing them. Whatever that the kids are talking about, and most of their dreams are derived from what they see from the parents, either from the parents or the parents exposing them to, you know. So I'll give you an example. One of the reasons many young people don't want to get into agriculture, especially in rural areas, they see their parents, they're struggling. They see their parents struggling with agriculture. So in a way, they are like, no, 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 this is not what I want to do. Okay. So the same way now, for some of us who have engaged into agriculture, the moment you start exposing these kids into what you are doing from the tender age, slowly they will also value it. Slowly they will also be interested into it, and they can take up the role in the future. The biggest challenge we have, Austin, we may discuss it another day. I wish that you bring these people on board. Let me tell you, Austin, we have a very big challenge. We don't have what we call family businesses, value chains. You go to Asia, you go to Europe, you go to America, there are families that are known. These are farmers. There are families that are known. These are the ones making agricultural inputs. There are families that are known to have specialized into transport system. Either they are doing, cargo transportation and this and that. So everyone in the family is building into such an already established value chain. So it is not, they don't struggle. They don't struggle. But now, in most part of Africa, I've been to all these countries, I tell you, my brother. Every child comes up with a different dream and they go and try. So every time there is somebody doing something for the first time in the family, no wonder poverty will never leave these families because they get into the world of the unknown. They might be very lucky and bring a fortune into the family, but sometimes these trial and errors don't end with success, and families lose resources. They lose, all these people around them and so forth. So I would say specialization. Let's say I've now put the basic infrastructure for my children. Let's say I already have the important equipment and the infrastructure for farming. So I would expect my daughter, if she takes on from me, she will move it to, a further stage. I've seen it happening, whereby she's able now to improve. If the father was largely manual, then she does it more sophisticated with technology and so forth. If I was more on production, she may now get into value chain development, branding, and the export and so forth. So we keep on building the same thing that we already have in place. Only a few deviations can be allowed or can happen, but most times, if you expose them to the same thing, you go with them to the farm, you take part into the farming activities with them. They enjoy the fruits, they enjoy whatever that they see in the farm, they like it. To tell you, chances are you will have one or two of them joining you in that cause. Back to you, Austin.
Thank you very much. And we truly have a lot on stake as parents to give the guidance to our children and the future they want to take. I think you've raised a pertinent issue. Emmanuel, my kids were so much into fast food. Why? Because I, as the father, thought, well, it's what could be so much better than to spoil your own children with fast food this and fast food that. Then, it struck me at one point in time that probably not. You know, what is it? You spoke earlier about the knowledge of where your food comes from, you know, and I said, let me now get them off the fast food. So the moment now you mention fast food to my kids, they go like, you know, which I'm happy that I've been able to attain that. But again, we need to now be able to let them know that they need to produce their own food by showing them the food they eat and where it originates from and why it is important to do that. So when I visit you next time onto your farm, Emmanuel, I'll also bring my young ones so that they're able to learn and see why it is important to produce your own food and truly appreciate. Now, Emmanuel, in front of you is a big blank check, which you ought now to write what is it that you want to leave to Africa on Wake Up Africa this 24th of May? What is it that you want to tell Africa today, the young people in Africa, in relation to young people venturing into agriculture and any other message whatsoever that you would like to pass to Africa? Karibu, Emmanuel.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Austin. Once again, I really appreciate for the opportunity. My appeal, I'll start with the African leaders, the governments. There's so much potential into agriculture. I know most of you are struggling and they are thinking of what to do with the ever increasing number of unemployed young people out there. I tell you, agriculture has the potential of absorbing all of them. So if you really want to come up with a sustainable solution for decent jobs for young people, then get into agriculture. Don't be just focusing on short plans that can be, somehow beneficial to you in terms of, the politics and this and that. Please, you can have mega plans and put them in phases so that you're able to follow on each of these. And then in a few years' time, let's say 10, 15 years from today, we'll be talking a different story altogether. So have proper plans, prioritize agriculture. I know the Malabo agreement where you were asked to put in place only 10% of your GDP into agriculture. And the majority of the countries have not been able to do it up to now. Now imagine this is a sector that can help you to address unemployment among young people. And once you have the youth employed, they can help you to stabilize your countries because they cannot be lured into issues that might put your security in danger, your political systems in danger, because they have food, they have jobs, they have decent houses for their families and so forth. So this is an area that I really wish that they explore and make sure they invest enough. So prioritize, have some very, very thought out programs which are informed from the field and by the young people themselves. Coming to the young people, as we are waiting for the government to put the policy, the infrastructure, whatever in place, you can start. I also started within the same context. I did not wait for the government to do this and that for me. So within the same context, I know people who are struggling to make things happen, and they are happening. So as you are waiting, or as you are also exploring the opportunities that are being brought out by the government and other stakeholders, can you start small with what you have? Allow me, Austin, if you can, just a very nice example of a school where they found 3 goats and then, 4 goats. And each of these goats, the young people brought them before the teacher's office and then they labeled them number 1, 3, 4, and 5. There was no number 2. So teachers would always ask the students to arrest whatever animals that came from the neighborhood to destroy their gardens, that you put them in place, confine them, and then we find the villagers because they've destroyed our property at school. So now when the teachers came, they looked at the numbers 1, 3, 4, and 5. So the whole school started looking for number 2. So the teacher sent for students to look for the goat number 2, which was not there. But there is not, kids had done it purposely to confuse the teachers. So do not look at what you don't have. Every time you want to do anything, there is always something that you already have. Either it is the knowledge, either it could be some space, or you have a parent who can support you, or a neighbor, or a relative, or a friend, or somebody that you can even walk into, a stranger, completely stranger, and you can talk to them and they can hold you by the hand and help you to venture into agriculture. So please be seek knowledge. Now it's at the tip of your fingers with your mobile phone. I know majority of you have the smartphones. Instead of just looking into entertainment, can you also seek knowledge? Learn every day. I've learned a lot. I've even planted some grass that I learned they were in China, and luckily I was able to trace them here in Tanzania, and I've planted. So my cows now are very sure of having enough feed even during the dry season because of the knowledge I got from the online platforms. So I say there is so much that we can talk about. Agriculture is no longer a burden, it's no longer a punishment. There is so much sophistication. You can also chip in at any levels of value chain. You don't need to come and till the land. You can come and do the aggregation. You buy from the farmers, put them in one place, sell them to business people in a bulk quantity. That is, again, it's part and parcel of agriculture. Once again, thank you so much, Austin. Back to you.
Emmanuel, we are truly, truly delighted that you could join us this morning. The number of text messages and WhatsApp messages that I'm receiving on my phone saying that this topic today is a hot topic, full of content and knowledge is truly appreciated and attributed by your contribution. Thank you so much. Thanks to Alan Subi from Uganda. Thanks to Rhoda Mwita from presently, I'm not sure if she's in Dodoma or in Dar es Salaam, but Kilimo Roundtable, for all your input today. You've added so much value into Africa as we rewrite Africa's narratives into the engagement of young people in agriculture. We really have to make agriculture sexy and appealing to young people who are the labor, who are the, I don't look at the young people as the tomorrow. I'm looking at the young people as the now. If you're saying tomorrow, that means we leave it to our old folks to tilt the land for us, which is inappropriate. So, Emmanuel, just to reiterate, we have to go and seek the knowledge. The knowledge is on our fingertips instead of looking onto gossip. Who's dating which team is playing against which team. Just 5 minutes of your dedicated time onto YouTube and other social media platform relevant into the topic that you want to venture in will really be transformative. But again, start with what is around you and not focusing on what you do not have. That will probably put you onto a disadvantage or discouragement point. So look onto what is surrounding you and start with that. As you look onto agriculture as the entire value chain, you could be supporting by producing fertilizer from waste from the houses, etc., biofertilizers or organic fertilizer, supporting that as you venture into that. But again, you also spoke about people come to you, Emmanuel, people going to successful farmers like yourself. Honorable Mizengo Pinda always calls people at his farms, come and learn how I do things. So young people need to seek mentorship in Tanzania, in Uganda, in Kenya, in Rwanda, Burundi, South Africa, Nigeria. Go to people who are doing agriculture, and I'm sure they'll be more than happy to show you how things are done. And a lot of other lessons that I've personally drawn from this subject. I am going to be an example, Emmanuel. And you and me, are going to top up that list that I spoke about earlier. So thank you once again very much for making time to speaking to Africa through Wake Up Africa, which is coming to you live from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, to the entire African continent, all the 54 countries of Africa. This is dedicated to you, to telling the world that yes, we have our life, we have our stories to tell, we have our heroes to celebrate, the likes of Emmanuel, the likes of Rhoda, the likes of Alan Subi, the likes of, Collins from South Africa, Anna Maneno from South Sudan, Patricia Ndede from Kenya, Aminata Traore from Arusha, Tanzania. We have stories here from Elliot from Burundi, Remy from Uganda. We are our own heroes, and we are going to change the narrative so that the world can know that things are happening in Africa. Emmanuel, I can't thank you enough. I wish you a smashing success, and I look forward to seeing you at the top on that list.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned into the program.
Asante Sana. Up until next Saturday, Emmanuel has raised a discussion on family-owned businesses and how we need to really now consider doing such in Africa. We'll do a research on that before I make an announcement that will be the topic for next Saturday. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for invaluable contribution, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.